What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sherdog.com. I'm Anthony Walker. This is The Trenches, the live chat that we do every week here. If you guys are tuning in, if you're familiar with what it is. So, of course, normally I'd be joined by a co-host. However, he's having a little trouble with the link right now to join the show. So hopefully he'll catch on to that before long, and I won't have to sit here and ramble solo like a jackass for a little bit. So actually, there he is. There he is. Better late than never. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Credential himself has decided to take time out of his schedule to be with us. The incredible, the remarkable Mr. Jason Burgos. Jason, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good, but I just got to put up this Twitter thing. You know, these are key moments here. I got to get that going. Let's see if it even works. Will it come up?
Oh, there it is. I see it. All right, so everybody, let's make sure we shame Jason Burgos for having the trash email that was not picking up the show link. I said that thing like 5 times.
I don't know
but anyway,
about this Walker. I don't.
anyway, before this comes into a trash Jason fest, which I would love to take part in, so we could do a side podcast about trashing Jason Burgos.
That would never happen. Everybody loves me. Jay, just tell him. Jay, you love me too.
No, you know what? We damn all this love. 2019 is the year of hatred. Okay, we spreading the hate for 2019. All right, that's where this is Hater Nation right here. All right, so I know we got some interesting things that have happened over the week, the last week since we've done this. So some pretty cool stuff to talk about. Definitely some topics that we have visited several times have new layers of nuance. So unless you got anything to apologize to the people out there watching, expecting you to be on time, we'll jump in. But I mean,
no apologies.
Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, Jason Burgos is trash.
Year of the hate, baby.
Year of the hate. Let the hatred flow through you. All right, so let me go ahead and take a look at the first question. Of course, we got to start the show off right with a question from my man Europe One out there, staying with the nice questions. So he says, do you expect Colby Covington to embrace a communist persona now that he has been screwed over by free market capitalism? What will the fallout be of this title switcheroo for Comrade Covington? First of all, before we actually answer that question, Europe One, that is perhaps the most entertaining phrasing I've ever heard in a question for this show. That was phenomenal. Thank you. Please keep that up. You, sir, get the Kung Fu Bow of the day. All right. So, all right, Jason, do you want to take this question first, man?
Now, I've got to contemplate this a little deeper so you can take it. I'm curious how you handle this one.
All right, so without getting too deep into the politics of the matter, because I wasn't prepared to have a discussion about Marxism versus capitalism today and talk about mixed martial arts, but this is another one of those instances where I guess being a member of MMA Media means that we have to be at least well-versed in so many other random topics. So political systems now, we can add to that. But honestly, I don't think that Colby Covington was screwed over by the free market capitalism that we're referring to here. I mean, free market capitalism says that he is the one that's supposed to be in that title fight against Tyron Woodley. That is the fight that's more sellable. That's the fight that's more marketable. I mean, notice, for instance, that Usman, his title shot against Woodley is going to be the co-main event against John Jones. So this is a fight that kind of needs help in order to be sold to a buying public. You can put Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington as a main event of a pay-per-view, and it should do well if it's marketed properly. And when I mean properly, I mean just letting people know that it's happening. Yeah. Of course, we've gone in many discussions on the show about what the ad campaign for a UFC main event with Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington would probably look like, and it wouldn't necessarily be the prettiest. It wouldn't be the most dignified. It sure as hell wouldn't be honorable. It would capitalize on a lot of things that people are I guess, taken advantage of in the country right now, the political climate, racial tensions and whatnot, that it would definitely follow along those lines. But that shit sells, man. That shit sells. People buy it. Boxing has lived off of that since the day before forever. That's a very common thing in fight sports. So this was not free market capitalism. This is something behind the scenes. This is the UFC just making a bad move. This is favors being called in. This is anything but free market capitalism, because free market capitalism says that Colby Covington deserves the title shot before Kamaru Usman, and that not to say that Usman doesn't deserve a shot. I don't want to make it seem like that at all. Kamaru Usman is definitely a legitimate title contender, and he probably would put up a better fight against Tyron Woodley than Colby Covington would. However, last time Usman fought, he didn't win a belt. And the last 2 times he fought, he beat guys that Colby just beat for his belt and for his title shot. So that's kind of where I stand on that, man. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I mean, it's definitely not capitalism, because capitalism is about making money, and the Covington Woodley fight that's the money fight. This is on a diehard fan and a person that follows the sports level. I mean, you already said it. This is probably the more interesting fight. This is more competitive fight, but I don't think Colby's going to be at all a communist, because I don't feel like the communist system fits anything he does on social media at all to make money anyway. Yeah, it's a weird situation. You pretty much said everything. It's something behind the scenes. It's something greater than this. Maybe Colby talked himself out of it. Maybe he waited too long. I don't know. It's an odd situation, but I mean, looking at the rankings, I don't know if they were adjusted recently, but I mean, Usman's right there. The top 2, I think he's number 2. So I mean, at least it's technically he's fighting a guy. If not going to be Colby, it's the next guy. So just in this day and age of the UFC in 2019, from 2018, 2017. This doesn't surprise me. This is just how the UFC is. Sometimes it's just completely unpredictable when it comes to its matchmaking, especially for title fights.
And one thing too that we should address in that question, the second part where he asks what the fallout would be for the title switcheroo, and of course that's where he referred to him as Comrade Covington, which I still think is clever as hell. But anyway, the fallout of this, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, obviously Colby is pissed off, unless this is a very carefully orchestrated way to make Colby like a baby face. And take away the heel persona that he has, to get him endeared with the fans, because fans love when somebody lashes out against the system, unless it's something like that, which I doubt it is. This is, I'm trying to find the right words to put this. I mean, this is just shitty. I just think it's shitty. I mean, and the fact that I am taking to the airwaves to defend Colby Covington really makes me hate myself right now. really makes me want to stab myself with glass or something. But this is kind of the world we live in. The UFC is kind of doing its own thing, regardless of what a lot of people outside of the company brass seem to think. And especially, how rare is it that you'll have 2 guys with belts, although one of those belts, not the most legitimate thing in the world, but 2 guys with belts that are trying to fight each other, that want to fight each other. And this is the best move to make money. It's so rare that the UFC just would not hop on this opportunity. I mean, this has written itself. And I think it's especially interesting considering that, we're getting reports now that they're trying to book Colby Covington to fight Darren Till just a couple of weeks after UFC 235, which is it's just asinine. Like, what? That makes no sense. It'd be one thing if Colby was injured. All right, then you table that fight and Woodley stays active. But other than that, I honestly I can't make any sense of it, other than speculating things behind the scenes that I would not feel comfortable just outright accusing or outright just throwing some things out there. Like, this sounds like craziness to me. So
I mean, and to add to the fallout thing, there's not going to be any fallout because Colby is a guy that has angered and frustrated and bothered and ruffled the feathers of fans for the last year plus with the stuff he does. It's worked for him and getting him into this position. But I mean, I think this is one of those times where a guy that is the most deserving guy and the most interesting fight, the outcry for him not getting the fight, it wasn't as strong as you would expect in most cases, just because I think there's a lot of people out there that gone, fuck Colby. I don't really like him anyway. Good for him, So that's why I don't think there'll be any fallout. He'll get his shot, or he'll fight Till, and everybody will just move on with their lives. Because if everybody can get over Khabib and Conor and all this stuff, and everybody's already forgetting about John Jones and the event getting moved, people are going to forget about Colby coming to get in the shaft.
Yeah, this isn't going to stay a headline forever.
Yeah.
Like it really isn't. And despite the amount of views that his interviews with various outlets did, as far as his protest with this, I mean, I think also James Lynch of Sherdog, I think he got an interview with Colby as well about this whole situation. So shout out to him on that. But despite the amount of views that's going to get, I mean, at the end of the day, Colby's anger ain't going to do nothing. They're not going to cut him. Yeah, they're not going to let him go with this hit of steam and publicity. No, it's not happening. It's just inconceivable that's going to play out like that. That he clearly doesn't have any power in that building. He clearly doesn't. And that's amazing too, with Dan Lambert being his manager. And Dan Lambert is definitely one of the more powerful people in mixed martial arts outside of Dana White. I mean, Dan Lambert is a heavy hitter in this game, and he couldn't get it done. I'm sorry, bro. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, Colby Covington is not going to leave the UFC. If anything, this Till fight is going to happen March 17th, I think the date that they're throwing out there. That fight probably will happen. Colby, if he wins that, and Tyron beats Usman, okay, then that fight we'll probably see it. But it's not going to mean anything, man. It really isn't.
And doesn't the Till fight almost seem like a punishment? Like, if you're thinking of tough matchups for him, that could be one where if he can't get Darren Till down, who's a pretty large guy with a pretty solid, good gas tank, that's a guy that would pick him apart in the feet. Like, it almost seems like that, or Thompson will almost seem like a bad matchup punishment for him. Maybe it's just me.
You know what? I was thinking the same thing. I mean, we saw Till. Till was standing strong against the takedown attempts of Woodley in that first round. They looked pretty equal strength wise in the clinch as well. So Colby is nowhere near the level of striker that Till or Tyron is. So I don't see how he makes it out of that one really unscathed.
Yeah,
I mean, this really opens up the door for him to get blasted, even if he gets to win. Gets banged up, gets roughed up again, and say Woodley comes out of the Usman fight healthy, then what? And then you got another delay. Then you might as well line up another title challenger. Like, this is kind of like a long-term screw job. So it's kind of like he probably pissed somebody off really bad in the UFC for this to happen. Like, and his whole gimmick is it's not gonna get him released. If anything, they'll want to keep him.
Yep.
And I'm not even quite sure if the anger is genuine. If this isn't an orchestrated thing, like I quite honestly don't know what to think on this. Yeah. And then also, as far as like the fan backlash, there has been definite fan backlash. Maybe not as much as you were expecting, Jason, but you look at the comments on social media and all the stories regarding this issue, and people are pissed. But they're not pissed because, I feel bad for Colby. They're like, I wanted to see Tyron whoop his ass.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the general consensus. It's like, oh, man, you delaying this ass whooping.
Yeah.
So, but either way, hey, Colby has carved a nice little niche for himself. Like, to be the hated guy is better than being the guy that no one cares about. Colby he's not exactly broke from what I understand. He definitely got more money than I got. And, I know some people dislike me, but some people like me.
Who could not like you? Come on.
There's got a few people out there. Some of y'all might be watching now and might not like me. It's all right, though. It's all right, though. I probably don't like you too, motherfucker.
Can I make a point? And this is why I like you. What's the chance? I don't think it's happened yet. You wear a hood, I wear a hood, we're at the same time. You see the connection here?
That is true, and I am wearing a Punisher hoodie as
I'm a
well.
fancy boy. I just got Nike. That looks like Giants colors. So that's about it.
Yeah, it is kind of fly though. I thought that was fly. Like you know what? And I wore the Punisher hoodie obviously because the new trailer came out. The trailer is fire. It's unfortunate that this is, besides the Jessica Jones season coming on, this is the end of Marvel Netflix.
Yeah.
So I'll probably be watching it with a box of tissues, just sad as hell, but entertained for 13 more hours of life. All right, so before we go off on a nerd tangent, which we are very prone to doing at times, all right, we're gonna go back to our poll question for the week. So let me pull up the results of that really quick so far. All right, so our poll question this week has been: who deserves the next title shot at welterweight in the UFC? No surprise, overwhelmingly, Colby Covington has been the winner of that with 64% of the vote. George St. Pierre came in at just under 8%. Kamaru Usman at 15%. Nick Diaz at 8%. And we have other at about 5%. So 5% other, I'm assuming people out there thinking Conor. that would be the only other I can think of. Yeah. Unless that's it, because I can't think of anyone coming down and no other. Maybe Ponzinibbio. Maybe that's somebody that people were thinking of. But I think this poll shows. I mean, granted, it isn't the biggest sample size, but as Covington referred to on his numerous interviews, I think MMA Junkie did a poll. Ariel Helwani did a poll. I think Tyron Woodley himself did a poll. And each time anybody's been asked about this, Colby Covington is the overwhelming favorite to be put in to the title fight against Woodley, and it is what it is. Also, too, I think a big missed opportunity for some just beautiful shenanigans would have been to have, although you could put Covington and Woodley on their own main event, if you had Covington as the undercard for a John Jones main event, with the trash talk going on between those two, hey, I'll be at that press conference. Like that right there could be just another thing to hook people, since drama sells, obviously. So multiple angles where this just doesn't make a lot of sense. But hey, it is what it is, man. Granted, GSP could come along if he decided he wanted to fight for the welterweight title, and the UFC was willing to let him go ahead and take a belt, and only to vacate it seconds later. Yeah, of course he'd get priority. I mean, it's the greatest welterweight of all time. Anybody who thought Conor McGregor for the other, cancel it. Just turn the video off. Yeah. Just look away. Bye. Presence not wanted. Maybe another could be Khabib if Khabib wanted to move up. I would be there for that fight. But hey, we got enough viable contenders at welterweight. I don't see the point in snubbing a guy that everybody wants to see fight in order to put on some freak show. So, miss me with that. Should be Colby, but hey, I'm not down on the hill for that motherfucker. So
yeah, I mean, this looking at the division, I'm looking at the UFC rankings, and this division, it feels just like the welterweight division right before GSP ended up fighting, like Nick Diaz and Johnny Hendricks, stuff like that. It even almost feels like middleweight. When Anderson Silva was at his rank, it's just, there's guys that are good, but man, there's nothing really clear cut. Usman's going to get the fight. If Covington somehow lost to Till, if that fight were to be made, that's disastrous for them, because after that, you have Darren Till ranked 3. He's already fought Woodley, and Woodley beat him fairly easily. I don't think anybody's clamoring for that. He hasn't even fought since then. You got Stephen Thompson, Woodley 3. No, nobody's going to ask for that. Robbie Lawler's is 6. Dos Anjos is 5. Dos Anjos is, he needs a big win to kind of get back in that conversation. Then there's Ponzinibbio all the way at 7. If people don't think Usman and Woodley's going to sell, I'm sorry, Woodley and Ponzinibbio is not selling. You got Damian Maia, Jorge Masvidal. I mean, this division is very questionable and very iffy at this moment. So for them not to take advantage of the Colby fight and then put it in possible danger by giving him Darren Till, a very a fight he can easily lose. This again, not great long-term thing for them. It should have honestly been Colby, then Usman. If he's willing to wait, just wait. Then you got another guy lined up. You almost got half of the year taken care of in the division. Now, after this fight, who knows what can happen? But yeah, coming to the guy, and I really don't even know who else. I mean, GSP maybe if he wants to do that, but all he does is seem to flirt with everybody's emotions, and they go, no, you can't have it. So I don't know.
Yeah, like I mean, GSP coming back. I'm just sorry. I'm not believing it till I see it. I mean, the same reaction.
It's like a Diaz comeback.
Yeah, exactly. The same, like when it was first announced that Diaz was going to fight Masvidal on this same card.
Yep.
You know, I correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I did this off air. I'm not quite sure, but I know my first reaction was like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, just because of the matchup. It just didn't sound like it made sense. So. Ponzinibbio might be the only other one, and that's it. And honestly, I think Ponzinibbio stylistically is probably the toughest challenge that's facing Woodley right now at welterweight. I mean, although he has a win over him already, if Kelvin Gastelum, say he actually was able to make welterweight and not compromise his performance, I think that would be very, very interesting. As far as guys within the UFC now, so I'd really just. The results speak for themselves, but UFC going to UFC. So that's just kind of what it is, man.
Yep.
All right. So now while we're talking about welterweights, Fahrenheit asks, if Woodley beats Usman and then Colby, is GSP still the greatest of all time welterweight? Man, I would like to. Woodley is close. He's very close. Like right now, GSP is still the top welterweight of all time, in my opinion. I think Woodley has done enough to eclipse Matt Hughes. I definitely will put Woodley over Matt Hughes at this point. Now, if he were to beat Usman and Colby, at the very least, those conversations get much closer. They get much closer. And shout out to Luke Thomas, man. He brought up a very good point the other day. About the differences in the challenges that Woodley's had, that Woodley has had a different type of fighter almost every time. He's had these specialists, these guys who are extremely good at this one thing and extremely good at this other thing. And, and generally his game plan has to drastically be altered per fight. And it's not like he can take a one-size-fits-all approach to how he does things. And that right there has a certain level of greatness attached to it, a certain level of fight IQ and science and preparation that's necessary to prepare for different sorts of opponents on a repeated basis like that. And just to keep winning, even the closest fight to him dropping that belt was his first defense against Wonderboy Thompson. And keep in mind, he scored a 10-8 round in that. He thumped Thompson. And quite honestly, if it wasn't for the continued stupidity of Doug Crosby, that would be a clear decision win for Tyron Woodley. So I have a hard time trying to separate one from the other if Woodley gets those two wins, and especially if he does it in emphatic fashion, it'll be very, very difficult to at least not give him his props of 1A, 1B at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, and thanks to Jay for setting this up. I mean, some of Tyron Woodley's wins at welterweight have been Stun Gun Kim, Kelvin Gastelum, Robbie Lawler, Wonderboy, Maya, Darren Till, and hypothetically Usman and Colby, along with beating Condit, which was a weird win, and Koscheck. And then he also gave us if you want to know who GSP's like 8 or so wins were, Nick Diaz, Johnny Hendricks, Carlos Condit also, Jake Shields, Koscheck also, Dan Hardy, Thiago Alves, BJ Penn, John Fitch, Matt Serra, and Matt Hughes. I mean, it's a great debate. It's a fantastic debate, and that really gives a lot of credit to Tyron Woodley, because if we would have said this 2-3 years ago, we would have been like, nah, GSP's the best ever. Nah, he's not gonna get close. And especially following GSP's win over Bisping, like, oh, just he's further amazing. But Tyron really has made the debate that close. Like, those are really good wins. Wonder Boy, we're gonna look back and we're gonna tell our kids in 10 years, 15 years, like, Wonder Boy, yeah, he was never champion, but that guy was really effing good, and he probably would have been champion any other time, if not for Tyron Woodley. You know, he beat Robbie Lawler in the first round. You know, Maya is another one. We're gonna tell kids, you know, man, Damian Maya was maybe one of the greatest grapplers to ever come in the sport, and he completely shut this man down and made him look like a white belt in there. Like, he has done some amazing things. Now, Jay also added Woodley in that time has finished Josh Koscheck, Carlos Condit. He finished Stun Gun, Lawler I mentioned, and Darren Till. GSP finished Hughes, Sever, and BJ. GSP had a 12-fight win streak at welterweight from 2007 to 2013. I think the decider here, for some people at least, is the fact that Woodley got finishers. I mean, not all those are title fights, and a lot of GSP's 12-fight win streak was title fights, but still, that's a lot of wins against some finishes again. Like Till and Lawler finishes are big. I mean, if I had to rank Lawler, Till finishes against BJ Hughes, it'd be close. But I mean, it's a great debate. I'm still gonna go with George, just because I haven't. If he doesn't beat Colby, he doesn't beat Usman, then nah, I don't think he is. But if he beats those guys, boy, he's got a case. He's got a legit case.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely the superior athlete. I think
really over George.
Yeah, I would know. Because the thing is,
well, how about this? If prime George, like the guy that beat BJ and the guy that beat Condit, Nick Diaz, if he fought Tyron, I feel he wins, especially on a cardio level. If they fought now, I would think Tyron would, but that might be a decider too. I feel like if Prime George fought him, because he was such a superior athlete to most, I think he could beat Tyron.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by that outcome, but my first instinct says that Woodley is a superior athlete over GSP. I mean, the level of speed is just blinding. I mean, the fact that he can close distance so fast, where when he backs up and that foot touches that fence, and then he shoots out so fast in that straight line and blitzes people. I mean, that is just scary, blinding speed. Now, while GSP was able to pull off very athletic things, and he is obviously a superior athlete, so make no mistake, I'm not downplaying the athleticism of George St. Pierre one bit at all. That is an athletic dude right there. But I think Tyron just just seems like the sort of guy who, if he were just a little bit bigger, he could have been in the NFL. Just that sort of athlete. And George St. Pierre, martial artist athlete. If you can think of if I'm communicating the difference between the two clearly enough.
Yeah, it's more like because there's a difference between, say, like a fighter athlete and then like an NFL kind of athlete, and you hit it with explosiveness. That's the key: explosiveness, speed, power. That doesn't mean it will translate into fighting, because a fighting athlete is a better athlete for fighting. But if you put the best MMA athlete against a top NFL player in just an athletic display, like speed, track running, weightlifting, they probably wouldn't win. Right? And he's like that, like the NFL athlete. But I will say, George St. Pierre got a lot of, I think he's on the stuff in his day. So that's a good sign that he's a pretty damn good athlete.
Oh, that's a hell of a compliment right there. If somebody thinks you're on steroids, consider it a compliment. Like that. Yes, I want people to tell me that they think I'm on steroids.
You don't get that now?
I not anymore. Not anymore. See, I used to actually. I used to be built like Bruce Lee. Now I'm built like Daniel Cormier. So life has changed. Life has changed, man. But yeah, man, it's I think it's also like those
pictures of when they show like when you were single and when you have a girlfilriend. It's like that.
Yeah, man. You get a wife, man. It gets worse. Shout out to my wife though for trying to keep me healthy. She meal prepping and everything for me, and I'm training again now. So I'm gonna be back on this. I'm gonna be on the trenches in a tank top. I'll flex for y'all a little bit. Yeah, man. But yeah, so I think another thing too that we need to separate GSP as an overall fighter and GSP as a welterweight. because when you're talking about GSP's legacy, a huge part of that is that he was gone from the sport for 4 years and came back and choked out Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. And it's very easy to confuse those two things. It's very easy to blend that into your welterweight discussion, but that was not him as a welterweight. So I can't, as impressive as it is, I can't count that in this sort of conversation, because I think Woodley has the potential to be the better welterweight of all time. He has the potential to eclipse George in that regard, but it would take a lot more for him to eclipse him overall legacy as a fighter.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only reason I would say I would use something like that in a debate is that's just making the point of that this man is just truly special, a true generational fighter and athlete, that he can come off of a layoff of what was like 5 years, something like that, and beat a bigger man and finish him for the title in Madison Square. You're totally right. It doesn't have a bearing on, say, welterweight, but just the point of how amazingly great of a fighter he was and how he was next level and how he's a GOAT. I would say it like that.
Yeah. All right. So I think we ran that topic clear to the damn ground.
Completely
to the ground. All right. So let's go ahead and switch gears on this one. Our next question comes from Yohimbo. Shout out to Yohimbo. Another good question right here. After all the controversy surrounding UFC 232, the card turned out to be great and history was made. Jones even passed his drug test. Did Dana and the UFC get away with murder?
No. I'm not gonna say they got away with murder. I think for us journalists, we're all gonna remember this one, and for you, it was one of the more scandalous moments you've ever encountered in sport. It definitely helps change the narrative, and in our digital age and news cycle, we all just forget things so quickly, and especially in an age with a presidency like we have now, we forget things that happened last week because some nonsense is gonna happen this week. So the same as in MMA, and it definitely helped people forget about it. It worked out for everybody. There isn't, I tell you, man, this would have been, if they ever wanted to start a fighters union, this would have been the moment to strike and really stand up for once. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and there's no really complaints from the fighters afterwards. So, they definitely bit the bullet, and they're gonna, on the other side of this, look good anyway, and everybody's gonna forget about it for the most part.
Yeah, I think so too. This is going to be something that we talk about as media members. We'll talk about this when we write our op-eds, when we'll interview a fighter, we'll interview Dana, and this will come up in some way, shape, or form. And it's going to be something that we talk about, but nobody else gives a shit anymore. And with the exception of those fans. And I think long term, maybe we'll see something as far as fans not being willing to travel to events. I think that's really the main thing, because when you have what was it, close to 900,000 buys that was reported for UFC 232? Yeah.
Wow.
So that many buys, at least the one source. I don't think it was Dave Meltzer reporting that. I think I can't remember what outlet. But in my mind, it's not real until Meltzer says it. So I'll check his reports. Jay, I'm sorry to put more work on you. If you could check that out for me real quick, please, brother. But anyway, you talking about like 900,000 buys. Obviously, this did not hurt the buying public's perception of everything. They bought it. They wanted to see it. Now, where it's going to be affected are the people who come to the show live. Of course, if the UFC is in your city, you pick up the ticket. You don't have to worry about hotels, and it's a wrap. It's an easy trip to make. But if you are planning, especially around a holiday, a trip to Vegas or a trip to whatever city that the UFC is visiting, hey, man, I'm sure there's going to be people thinking about this, especially if you're doing it on a budget. If you are you just got a lot of money to burn, you got a lot of money to play with, whatever. There were definitely people who made the trip from Vegas to LA and didn't miss a beat. Unfortunately, that's not everybody's situation. So people who are in those situations, you're going to think twice about paying $150 a ticket, $120, $150 a night for a hotel room, $150, $200 worth for a plane ticket. You're going to think twice about that. And I think that's it. But as far as the way 232 went, it couldn't have gone better for the UFC.
Yeah,
it couldn't have. If you could have seen. Now I don't know. I didn't look at the stream of this since I was there, but if you could have seen the gloating look on Dana White's face as he took that podium for that post fight press conference, like I'm telling you, as he was walking up to the podium, he had a grin on his face and he was ready to stick it to somebody. And this is one of those cases where the UFC is not going to so much highlight the things that are wrong, but they are going to put a big megaphone next to the successes. And 232, despite all the bullshit, despite all the controversy, was a success. The only thing that can derail it really now is Nevada State Athletic Commission. And at least according to what we were told at that post-fight presser when I asked him about it, Nevada's probably going to rule in John Jones's favor for this. They're probably not going to issue a suspension. If there's anything, the wheels of justice may have already been greased for all we know.
Yeah.
Or they just genuinely decide that they find this to be legitimate and let it rock. But that's the only thing that can strip away the success of 232, aside from the fans who have to think twice about dedicating money to traveling.
And that's awesome to hear at 900,000 buys, because of course John Jones is going to get the bulk of our credit. People are going to remember him as one of the main eventers. It's his return, but that's a great sign for Amanda Nunes, Cyborg. That they were a co-main event, as big a fight, kind of overlooked, because there's been John Jones cards that didn't do anything like that, more in the 500 range. That's often been his situation with buys. Still better than most, but in that range, 500, 700. So to get to 900, you have to point to other people on the card. You had Nunes and Cyborg. So to see that they had an effect and they helped put that number up to one of the better numbers the UFC. I'm curious if that's got to be one of the better numbers they've had since let's aside from Conor Khabib, outside of a Conor fight in years. So that's fantastic to see. Very happy for those ladies.
Yeah, and then think about it too, man. Amanda Nunes has been on. This will be her third big selling pay-per-view. She highlighted UFC 200. I think that did 1.1 million. Yeah, I think that was 1.1 if I'm not mistaken on that. And then her defense against Ronda was at 207 or 208 or something like that. I think that did 1.2 or 1.3 something in that range. So. Yeah, Amanda comes out sitting pretty with those pay-per-view points. Yeah. Amanda got a nice little check. So unfortunately, California took 10%. So that sucks. But hey, yeah. So hopefully this boosts Amanda Nunes' profile more than anything else. That's really what I want out of that event more than anything else. That Amanda Nunes gets the respect that she deserves and can kind of reach the mainstream the way at least I believe she can. I think she's somebody who really can touch that base and really put smiles on the faces of the children of the world. All right. So let's see what our next question is. I'm having my phone is acting an ass right now, probably because I'm just pressing the wrong button. So it's probably my fault. Okay. But anyway, so Europe One, another question from Europe One. He says that Peter Yan kid is really, really violent. Who can stop him? Can he even be stopped? What do you see when he fights John Dodson? And would a future fight with John Lineker be so violent that MMA will be banned worldwide as a result? God damn it, Europe One, you're so dramatic, and I love it. Jason, what say you?
I'm going to play a little bit of play a little bit ignorance on this. I don't know Peter Yan that much. I haven't been able to see his fights. I looked at his record right now to see the results and stuff like that. They got a couple of finishes, 2 out of the 3 fights. I know Dodson. If Peter Yan, however you use Yan, whatever way you say his name, if he's a legitimate star and a rising guy and a dangerous striker in the style of John Lineker, then yeah, I mean, if he's fighting John Dodson next, he can win a fight because John Dodson is a shell of what he used to be. One of those fighters that he was such an amazing athlete that he would kind of out athlete you in a lot of ways. And after an ACL tear, he's not quite that guy anymore. So I'm more curious of what you have to think about Peter Yan because I don't know him that much.
Peter Yan he's definitely a violent man. That's for sure. I don't know if I think he made Jordan Breen's All Violence team. I believe he did. If he didn't, he had to be an honorable mention because that dude is a savage, man. So Douglas Silva Andrade, he slaughtered him and forced a corner stoppage, which shout out to Andrade's corner for that for 232, actually stopping a fight before a guy damn near dies. That was great. We need more of that in MMA. So Peter Yan forcing that situation, which is a very, very rare thing in this sport. He annihilated Ishihara, and I can't remember the gentleman's name that he fought on the Hunt Olenek card. That one fight of the night. The guy missed weight.
Yeah, his other UFC win is Jinsu Sun.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So Jinsu Sun, like that was such an amazing fight. And those guys just went at it. Peter Yan is built for that action. Let's put it. He is so built for that action. I really would love to see him and Lineker, man. That just sounds like something we don't deserve. And Lineker, I think he just pulled out of the Brooklyn card today.
I heard about it. Who's the two fighters? I sure is two. It's him and who else?
Man, off the top of my head, why am I blanking? Somebody
at bantamweight. Look it up, please.
Yeah. Somebody back. But anyway, man, like Lineker and your man Peter Yan, man, that just sounds like dynamite on top of C4. Sign me up for that, man. Kudalaba, Ian Kudalaba. Okay. But yeah, man, like I really, really want to see that. I really want to see what that looks like, and I think Dodson. I don't like Dodson's chance in that at all. I do not like his chances in that at all. Yeah. Dodson is definitely not the, like you said, he's not the guy he was, a guy who relies so much on his athleticism. He's still very athlete. Yeah. He's still very much an elite athlete. The thing is now it's just slowed down just enough.
Yeah.
And he's never was a high output guy anyway. Mm-hmm. So if he doesn't one shot kill you, it's very difficult for him to gain some traction. Mm-hmm. Yan is about that action, man. Yan is going to be in his face, and he's going to be throwing volume, and he's not going to relent. And I think Dodson succumbs to that pressure. Whether he gets the finish or not, I'm not going to jump out there and say that because Dodson is a pretty durable dude. But Yan, I think Yan should take that, and I think that a win like that over a name like John Dodson that still carries a bit of cachet to it, and that some casual fans will recognize, that could do wonders, man. That could start putting him in those conversations where he needs to get top 5 opponent. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Yan can pull off in the future, man. So yeah, another good question for Europe one. All right, so let's move on. Kung Fu Z asks, how pumped are you for the start of a new era? ESPN Plus, TJ versus Cejudo on ESPN Plus, Velasquez versus Ngannou on Big East ESPN to kick off 2019.
I'm not super excited in that. Just as a person, I cut the cord a few years back, so I have Sling TV, and Sling does not have ESPN. So I'm probably gonna have to stream it from somewhere else. It sucks that I have to buy ESPN Plus. I had FS1 on part of my Sling deal, so I could just watch a bunch of UFC stuff there. So unfortunately, it's like another added $10. I already got the Zone on the Netflix and all those kind of side things. So I'm not overly excited. It's cool, and as a longtime fan of ESPN, it's like it almost seems like a watershed sort of moment in that way. Like these two, that it's a part of this global conglomerate of sports in the world, especially in the US. But it's ESPN on a channel. The channel it's on doesn't make too much of a big deal for me. ESPN's the number one show. If it was like Bellator or PFL ESPN, that's a big deal because now they're getting an even wider spotlight put on them by one of the biggest networks. But it's nothing different to me. I don't think the broadcast is going to be that much different. Yeah, they'll have some switch ups, but it's UFC. I wasn't overly excited when UFC went to FS1. It was just, do I have that channel? And that was about it.
I do like what you're saying here about the separation of these channels as far as what it means to the sport.
Mhm.
For the sport, this is fantastic. For the sport, ESPN carries a lot of weight in the sports community. If you are on ESPN, with the exception of like poker or like the spelling bee or random stuff that should get shown on ESPN, you are accepted as a mainstream sport. And another thing ESPN has done repeatedly is that oh man, that was trash. Sorry. They highlight the sports that they show. They highlight so much on all their auxiliary programming. So SportsCenter is essentially the NFL network, but now SportsCenter will be partially the UFC channel. Like that is one big thing that is a huge part of this deal. Just having those two sets of initials associated with one another lends validity to the other. As far as being a cord cutter, as far as like extra channels and streaming services and all that, Sling TV sucks ass. Sling TV is trash. I had it before. I hate it. They suck. I got PlayStation Vue now. PlayStation Vue is the way to go. The basic package gets you ESPN and FS1. I know you're a pro wrestling guy too, so WWE I think is going to be on FS1 soon. No, and you got TNT on there as well. Also regular Fox, yeah, okay. And they got Fox. TNT also, so you should watch One Championship as well. So that's for the basic package. So that's what I got. But anyway, man, as a fan, it really don't matter. If you're already a fan, it really doesn't matter. You're gonna watch, you're gonna find it, you're gonna watch it. Like I was a fan in the Spike era. I watched it. I was a fan before that when it was on Best Damn Sports Show, period. And in Tito and Ken Shamrock were jaw jacking at each other. I was watching then, so I didn't give a shit as long as I had the channel. So if you got the channel, it's going to be what it is. As far as the fights that are kicking this off, yeah, of course. TJ versus Cejudo, sign me up. I don't like that it's at flyweight necessarily, but still, I'm very intrigued by that fight. I can't wait to see it. Ngannou versus the return of Cain Velasquez, assuming Cain Velasquez actually makes it to the cage. Yes, sign me up. Sounds like a great time. Those two cards, at least from what I can remember, are pretty damn stacked. And there's some good cards. So I think they will show out initially for this ESPN run. And they did the same thing with Fox. They did the exact same thing with Big Fox, with the launch of FS1, which was pretty much built on the UFC's back. So we can expect that to start. Come at me in 2 years, and we'll see what some of these ESPN Plus main events look like. I mean, granted, as long as the schedule is going to be bloated as it is, expect the product to get watered down at some point. It's going to happen. They are front loading the initial announced offerings for the first half of the year because, hey, you got to make that big splash. You got to make that big splash. Let people know that, hey, you got to get ESPN Plus because this is where all the action's at. You know, you load up the big ESPN show because, hey, you want to see more, get ESPN Plus. You know, if you want to see more than that, hey, the pay-per-views are loaded too. Expect that to end after the initial slate of announced fights. And then it's going to be more of the same. So I'm not going to get too excited about this, partially because, hey, we're diehards. We're going to watch this regardless. We're diehard to the point that we decided we're going to write about this for peanuts. Then that's just what we decided to do. So of course, we don't think like the average person, but that's my initial take on this. So keeping in mind with that, our next question is from Purple Storm. Shout out to Purple Storm, another frequent viewer. The UFC's ESPN deal continues screwing North American consumers by putting content behind numerous paywalls and still charging for pay-per-views. Is anything good about it for viewers?
No, because I mean, like you said before, all those things with like the ESPN, yeah, it gives the validity and everything. But you know what? Even when I had ESPN, my days of watching SportsCenter, had long ended anyway. I used to, when I was a kid and a teenager, I used to watch the weekly sports show, but there's so much content out there. You can find so much content anywhere, but just online too. So, I mean, like the ESPN weight doesn't hold as much for me anymore because, you know, it isn't the only show in town like it used to be. Hell, in New York City alone, we have the Yes Network, which is the Yankee channel, and SNY, which is the Mets channel, and MSG, which is the channel run by Madison Square Garden, the Knicks and the Rangers. So in New York, I mean, those channels are much bigger than they were 10 years ago, and they cover the local stuff. So I'm more likely to watch that than even ESPN anymore anyway. And ESPN has lost its serious journalism lean that it had years ago in favor of entertainment. And that's one of the biggest complaints, and that's why they've gone to upheaval. So yeah, this is not beneficial to fans. I mean, in the end, this is a money grab for the UFC and the ESPN, because the UFC is getting a fat deal, a TV deal off of this. You know, they're getting the ESPN logo next to their stuff, which is huge for them, huge for their money, huge for their bottom line. And ESPN is getting something to put on that damn ESPN Plus content, you know, that new application. They want something in it. They're not going to be able to get the NBA on there and NFL. Those leagues are too strong. They're like, no, we're not putting our stuff on there. Plus, we have our own network, so we don't need to do that. But the UFC is a very strong piece of content that they can slap that on there, but they're not big enough to put up a fight on it and have enough leverage to not do it. And they can make a bunch of money off of this application now. So for the consumer, it's not a great deal. I mean, in the end, if you have ESPN, that's great, you watch it, but they're still going to do shows on pay-per-view. You got to pay for that. And ESPN, you're going to have to pay for that. The Fight Pass, there's events on there, but not enough that I've never had Fight Pass, and I don't feel like I've ever missed it. So in the end, it's not beneficial to the consumer. It's just making fans pay more money, which is unfortunate, especially when pay-per-views are so damn expensive as is. And that's probably one of the drawbacks for me on it. It's like, damn, you want more money from us? Especially, you know, you got Bellator coming up, DAZN, you know, all these other things. It's a little sucky, but it is what it is.
You know, the only thing I really don't like is the pay-per-view model. As far as paying $5 a month or $10 a month or whatever for Fight Pass or ESPN Plus or DAZN or whatever streaming service to watch certain content, totally okay with that. But to have but to have pay-per-views on top of that is I think is really the issue here.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: the insistence on sticking to the pay-per-view model is kind of like the only relic of TV as we always used to consume it.
Yeah, because look, WWE doesn't even do that anymore, and they were totally about making the money for every. They don't even do it anymore, and they're making tons of money with TV deals.
Right, and see that's the sort of thing that WWE made a long-term investment into the future, because the future is no pay-per-view.
Yeah,
the future is a la carte entertainment.
Yep.
The future is just picking and choosing what you want to watch and paying a small fee for that and that alone, instead of having a cable package that costs you $100 a month and you only watch like 7 channels out of it. You know, and we're just in a very strange transition period between these two different eras in content consumption. And that's really the difference here. These are growing pains as far as the future of entertainment and how we consume it, while they're trying to cling on to this pay-per-view model.
Yeah.
Now, of course, selling the company for $4.5 billion or whatever it was, and having these debts that need to be paid off, and having these financial obligations is going to put a strain on the idea in that building to say, hey, we don't need pay-per-view anymore because that is not the future. That's going to be a decision that ain't going to be made anytime soon unless there is a massive backlash against it that they feel in Zuffa offices. So I get used to the pay-per-view model, but I'm okay with ESPN Plus. I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. We are moving away from linear television, and this is just the next step. We are in between some shit. When we're on the other side of it, it will make a lot more sense. And I think we said, well, not me and you together. I know I was doing another podcast. We didn't know each other then. But when Fight Pass came along, that was something discussed. When Fight Pass came along and became something that you kind of almost had to get if you were a hardcore enough fan, hey, that is the future. That is what we're moving toward. We're moving toward digital content, digital library, streaming, away from plopping on your couch and grabbing your, Spectrum cable remote and pressing power. That's just not how it rocks anymore, man. Gone are the days of the scrambler box where you watch all your channels on that and nobody knew about it. I never have actually seen one of these. I've just heard about them allegedly. So little disclaimer out there. Little disclaimer out there for Johnny Law. Yeah, Johnny Law out there. Shout out to Johnny Law.
You think he's still gonna come get you after all these years?
Well, actually, I didn't have any bills in my name at the time. I was a young man. I was a young man. But I don't know nothing. So I'm just a clown with a Punisher shirt. That's all. Sure. All right. So let's move on before I further incriminate myself to Norin Rad's question here. It says, how close are other organizations?
That is a good name. Did you catch that?
Norin Rad?
Norin Rad.
No, I don't know, man. I just thought
Silver Surfer. I mean, come on.
No, Silver Surfer. Oh, I was never. Silver Surfer sucks, man.
Now that's trash.
I've never been a Silver Surfer fan. Silver Surfer, come on, man. I'm about urban vigilantes, man. I ain't got time for that intergalactic nonsense.
Because it's bigger than urban vigilantes. He's like a vigilante of the universe. Get out of there, trash.
No, they ain't vigilante universe. Silver Surfer sucks. Okay. Like Silver Surfer is so trash.
He worked for the baddest man in the galaxy.
Galactus sucks, man. That shit crazy, man. When they have those over consuming the universe, I'm sorry, miss me with that, man. Thanos is the only one I really could get down with, and Darkseid, those are the only ones I get down with, man.
This man makes planets tremble by his name. Thanos don't do that. Punisher don't even make a block tremble by his name.
Man, Silver Surfer, ass crack.
Well, you can see his ass crack, but it's silver and it's shining and it's
man. We just walking. Yeah, come on, man. Put some draws on this stuff, bro. But I'm not gonna deride this man's name because I do appreciate a comic book reference. So shout out to Norin Rad.
Yes,
I and I really should have known that. I am familiar with Silver Surfer comic books. I just never liked them. Sorry. I like Mike. Yeah, I like street level crime comic books. That's what I like. Okay. All right. But anyway, so how close are other organizations like Bellator and ONE to the UFC's talent level? Do you think the UFC will still be the big leagues of MMA in a few years?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's not going to change anytime soon. On a talent level, not. Yeah, I mean, if this is a question of are they going to be as influential? Bellator, no. ONE, yeah, because in the end, I don't know what's going on in the Pacific, in Asia, and all these countries. And from what they're saying and what's going on, their numbers and what they're starting to spend, they're huge out there. They are UFC out there. So if we're talking about influence on a global scale, then ONE could be that globally, because who's to say they won't start eventually going to Russia, maybe India, and some of these other big economies or whatever. So, but on a talent level, it's just tough, man, because UFC, the brand is so strong. They've done so much to spread their brand. You have superstars from all kinds of countries. So there's generations of children growing up looking at Khabib Nurmagomedov, looking at Francis Ngannou and Alistair Overeem, all these kind of Brazilian fighters, European, Alexander Gustafsson. They're going to know them from the UFC and be like, I want to be them in the UFC. They're going to become the fighters now. When they get to the UFC, they're unhappy with what they make, and then they go somewhere else anyway. But the brand is so strong, so the talent's always going to be there. I mean, it's all a matter about someone coming in and be able to spend, and it's starting to, franchises trying to change the game, and there's other stronger, promotion out there. But in a few years, I think they're still going to be the big leagues. I still think they're going to have the best roster overall. Their eye for catching talent is very good. They get they're finding the stars of the future, the Israel Adesanya's, and making the deals that bring in a whole wave of talent like they did with Strikeforce. So, but that isn't to say that now more than ever, there's a lot of great fighters and a lot of great fights outside the UFC more than ever. So that's still pretty cool. But yeah, they'll still be the big leagues.
Yeah, I think they'll still be the big leagues, but the gap will close. I don't think it will be as overwhelming, especially on the latter end of that mark. A year from now, it's overall probably going to look about the same. Yeah. But I think 5 years from now, because he gave the 1 to 5 year span in that question there, 5 years from now, things could be a lot different. I mean, the UFC has shown as of late that they're not too concerned about holding some top level talent. Sage Northcutt gone as he's on his rise. Demetrius Johnson, one of the greatest fighters of all time, gone because they whatever. Roy McDonald fighting in another promotion. Gegard Mousasi, who very well could be a middleweight champion in the UFC, gone. So there are a lot of fighters that are very important pieces to this talent puzzle that the UFC has decided to just let fall by the wayside. Maybe the intent is to let them do what they do, and when they're bigger names, they'll bring them back in the fold. That's entirely possible. Not the safest business strategy, but that's entirely possible. I just don't believe that gap will close enough to where the UFC will not be considered the big leagues. It would take it would really take something drastic. It would take the equivalent of John Jones and Conor McGregor going to Bellator, or Amanda Nunes and Tyron Woodley, along with half of one division going to another promotion. It would take something so drastic that the UFC would definitely put a stop on it before it got that foolish. But over time, gradually, I can see it happening to an extent.
I'll throw this at you as the possible drastic thing, or kind of two things, though it may not happen. I think the drastic things could be, one, a fighters union, or two, I remember reading an article from Jacob, and I brought it up on Fight Stream Podcast when I was doing that from like last year around this time, about the Ali Act and how it sets up contracts, and they can have a certain amount of time and then they can move somewhere else. It's not these stringent deals that are have very little movement. So I can see something that if a fighters union were to get together, it would be the ability to spread the wealth and make a point of working with every other organization, finding the best deals, and not having fighters locked into such binding contracts. So I can see something like that. If that were to happen next 5 years, maybe it would make everything real even. But as of now, that's not even looking like a possibility, unfortunately.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, man. I mean, yeah, if those things, those very political things happen, unions being developed and Ali Act and or fighters declared employees instead of independent contractors.
Yeah,
that could definitely change the game. Definitely can. But looking at how quickly the Project Spearhead was derailed in that independent contractor employee debate after Donald Trump has invited Dana White and Colby Covington into the White House, and that got deaded shortly afterward. I don't think it's a coincidence.
Yeah,
that shows the level of power that the UFC really has, even in the political sphere, like in the genuine, politics sphere. So I don't know, man. I don't think one of those things is really going to happen. If anything, it's just going to be more talent being developed and being caught by other organizations. I mean, look at how Bellator has gone out to scout these high level wrestlers and breed them and mold them into fully developed mixed martial artists before they make their professional debut. Look at what they've done with Ed Ruth, what they've done with Aaron Pico. So if these organizations take that approach, which by the way is going to be an expensive thing, it's going to be down to money. Can you afford to sign an Aaron Pico when he's 16 and develop him and know that the 30 other Aaron Picos that you sign, only 2 of them might amount to anything, that's worthy of worldwide attention, and you see a return on the investment. So you got to be willing to lose a lot of money to go that route. And in addition, I think another factor that could play into this that I don't think is being discussed enough, and I think is a very, I wouldn't say a strong possibility, but it wouldn't be totally improbable, is if the UFC were sold again. Who would buy it? Like, that would be a huge thing. If WME decided, hey, they want to cut their losses and be done with this, and they sell it to whoever is willing to buy it, or whoever as far as a collective is willing to buy it, maybe they divvy it up you never know. Like, you never know what happens here. So I think we have to see what happens in those 5 years, but I'm pretty sure that the landscape will not be the same in 5 years. But also, let's factor in that ESPN deal. The ESPN deal is huge, at least in America. It's a huge thing that puts a certain stamp of validity on the sport, and there's a constant influx of money now, $300 million a year, if I'm not mistaken, on that figure. So, with that being said, hey, the UFC's they've got money flowing in, so why would things change?
And also, I mean, the way this sport is, PFL and Bellator may not even be around in 5 years. You know, we thought Strikeforce was going to last. WEC, Elite XC, we thought those seemed solid enough to have some good footing to be around for a long time. Bellator, we talked about, I think, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, rumors of a sale. PFL, that's great first season, but who knows what's going to be 4, 5 years. Some of those fighters may be in the UFC because they got bought out, just like Strikeforce. So that's another thing too.
Right. And even one, despite the following that they have in Asia, according to that Bloody Elbow report that came out a couple months back, they're bleeding money right now. They're hemorrhaging cash. They just came into some venture capital dollars, but that well could run dry without them seeing a profit. Yeah. So they could be gone as well. Like that's and just by default, UFC still keeps a spot. Yep. They've proven to be a profitable company that has sustained itself for over 25 years now. So I don't see that changing, at least in not any significant fashion to where we're questioning whether or not the UFC is number one in the sport. May not be the firmest number one that it was before. And when I say firmest, I mean like now they're 95%. Maybe they'll be 82. Maybe they'll be 75. But they'll be the number one promotion in mixed martial arts, probably till forever at this rate. All right, so we're gonna get another question in from Itchy Bang. That's a cool name.
Wow.
Ryzen, Bellator, PFL, and One. Which promotion will be the first to bite the dust? Ryzen's New Year's Eve event did terrible ratings. Bellator has rumors that their ratings are not up to par for the network, and they're looking to be sold. One is bleeding money, and PFL is funding $1 million seasons. Oh my God, this man read our minds, and he pretty much just repeated what we said. Thank you. You're right, because you agree with us.
Smart man. Well, now, maybe it's a girl.
Hey, baby. Hey, shout out to the female fan base out there. All right. So, Jay, out of these promotions that are kind of on shaky ground, at least from what we understand financially, which one do you think might be checking out sooner than the others?
I'm going to do like a rating from least likely to most likely. I'm going to go with One as least likely, because if you see One, I mean, One's been a slow burn thing, and they're only kind of going higher, at least in their notice and their influence. I mean, if you would have said One could be on TNT like 5 years ago, you're like, what? What's One? Like One is really going upwards. And even though that Bloody Elbow did say they're losing money, I mean, since that article, they've signed Northcutt, Alvarez, and Demetrius Johnson. They're probably going to sign more people. So it can't be that bad financially if they're adding names like that. So I would say they're least likely. I think they'll definitely be around 5 years. I would go probably I'll say PFL, because you know what? Yeah, they're funding $1 million seasons, but their roster still is not big, and they're only using it in a small. I think right now it may never compete with the UFC. It may never compete with Bellator, but it's a good option where they're keeping within their means. I mean, we'll see. I can see the Bellator sale rumors scare me, especially as a Strikeforce fan. I can see Viacom easily selling Bellator to the UFC, and the UFC buy them out like that. So I can see, unfortunately, Bellator leaving quicker, which is surprising. But Ryzen, I think definitely I can see Ryzen not lasting, especially with One now going to do this event in Tokyo to start the 2 Grand Prix. Ong La and Sang, who I just interviewed a few days ago, their champ. He's going to be on that card. So they're already making their way into Japan. So they can easily take over that Japanese market, One. And Ryzen could just be asked out. So if I had to choose, I'd go Ryzen. Bellator next, PFL, and one that's the least likely to be gone.
You know, I think I'll put one down as my least likely to go as well, just because they're about to get into esports. And that is,
smart.
If we understand, that's a bigger market than mixed martial arts is.
That shit is crazy.
Yeah, like I don't know much about esports, but I might go ahead and research, and you might find me on an esports podcast right here doing the damn thing. I'll be a dual sport journalist.
That's part of what the appeal also was Demetrius Johnson. When he knew that was a possibility, he wants to be a part of it. He's a gamer, so that shit makes huge money and all kinds of crazy. They fill up arenas to watch people play video games for this thing. It's that big. They got shows on TBS and TNT here in the States. Like, that shit is big, and if they're gonna make some money off of that, and I think Chatcher, you sitting on tongue and out, they're gonna do 3 esports events this year. That's at least money, extra money.
Yeah, I think that right there could be their saving grace. That's just a field that, despite all the money in it, you don't hear a lot of huge names attaching themselves to that, at least in the sport world, at least I'm aware of. But granted, all I do is watch people punch each other in the face all day. So maybe my perspective on the rest of the world is a little skewed. As far as PFL, like you said, it's a small company. It's very self-contained. But the mark against them is that they have some legal issues going on right now, lingering over from when they were the World Series of Fighting. There was an article that was released, I believe it was late last week, from, I don't want to say it was Low Kick MMA. I think so, but anyway, they had a small piece that was highlighting once again, like, the relationship that Ali Abdelaziz has with the people running the company, with Ray Sefo and Carlos Silva, and some things that were percentage wise as far as the amount of people that he manages on the roster and conflicts of interest, and some of these issues. And I don't know if you remember the World Series of Fighting Asia lawsuit. A lot of these things are still going on. So I think with a company that runs on such a smaller scale, something like that can just throw everything off. Now, granted, they keep their roster small. They don't get too ambitious as far as their venue size and whatnot. I think they're fully aware of what their product is, and they're trying to stay in that lane. But with these auxiliary issues going on, that could be a huge monkey wrench in that game plan. So as long as that shoe doesn't drop, I think they can at least, carry on for another number of years. Maybe you start attracting some talent that that wasn't a UFC, and just say, hey, this is my best chance to make that huge payday. And keep in mind, those guys that, not even if you just won the finals, but if you made it to the semifinals or the quarterfinals, you made a lot of money. At least a lot more than you'd get being a mid-tier guy on the prelims on a FS1 or ESPN Plus show now. So I think there's that in their favor. So I think the roster will take care of itself. Ryzen, I don't know what they're doing there. I have no clue. Like, they
I don't know
whatever.
I don't know.
I mean, Floyd Mayweather could just bankrupt the company himself for all we know. So I mean, they put on massive shows when they do a show. They don't have a very frequent schedule.
Yeah, sure.
So that's one thing. Bellator would be my first to go. If you put a gun in my head, made me decide, because they are, Scott Coker is a very ambitious man, and they have big plans. They are constantly going overseas and constantly trying to expand. I was on my honeymoon in Italy and saw Bellator advertisements on billboards and buses. They are very adamant about expanding, about making. I mean, you see, they made the push into Hawaii, which the UFC has been resistant to, because the logistics and the money involved in making that show happen. So maybe that going to Hawaii, maybe this international expansion will be an asset in the future. But hey, if the ratings keep as low as they are, but also you got DAZN is giving them money too. There's an influx of money there that can at least keep them afloat. And oh, by the way, they're owned by Viacom, which is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So there's that. Also, one thing that we got to factor in too, these companies have the ability to co-promote with one another. Ryzen and Bellator have done it before, or they're not a pure co-promotion necessarily, but they have exchanged fighters before. The next step is co-promotion. That was an idea that Scott Coker floated in the pre-fight for the Hawaii event, saying, "Hey, we can have a co-promoted show here since it's a geographic middle point, and it's a hotbed for MMA." Things like that can save all of these companies if they work together. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
And you see that on a pro wrestling level, like New Japan, which is a very big promotion, maybe it's number 2, or Ring of Honor, a very big promotion. They work together often, and some of these other promotions work together. If you're not going to, beat or compete closely with the top dog, work together to help each other, lift each other up. I'm surprised you don't have more. We haven't had like a Ryzen versus Bellator event. I mean, even Elite XC, the Strike Force, they kind of work together, but they wouldn't do that outright. We're together. We're both names on the banner kind of thing. Like, so I'm curious the reasoning why some people won't do this. Is it a contractual thing? Is it just you scared of hurting your brand? I'm curious why has that happened.
Yeah, it's like we've seen the flirtation with it. We saw King Mo enter the Grand Prix a couple years back. We see I think Crow Cop is supposed to be going back and forth between them. Horiguchi just fought Darren Caldwell a week and a half ago, or whatever it was. So we've seen them flirt with this line, and apparently Horiguchi is going to fight in Bellator for at least one fight now. So we've seen the flirtation with this, but just having that all out. We're just going to sell it as, hey, Bellator versus Ryzen. That does some serious business if that's done properly. Things like that can save all of these companies, and they all have the flexibility to do it. It's just a matter of these guys who are all second, third, and fourth place to just say, hey, let's be better than number one. And that's really it. That's the one thing that they have that the UFC cannot offer is the ability to just co-promote. Of course, UFC has the ability. They just refuse to do it because they are number one. Why are they going to lend their name to something that they feel is beneath them? But if you're one of those guys at bottom, link up. You might build up into something that's good and beneficial for all sides. And the fans would love it. Fans would love it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to another question. This is from Varachi. Okay. I fucked with that name. All right. Tito versus Chael 2 is in the works. Buy or sell. Tito says he is going to pummel him for 3 rounds. Jason, allow me to just address this first.
Please do. Please do.
Sell. Sell.
Oh.
Like, I mean, I'll watch it still because I'm a knucklehead, but we don't need to see this. We saw this already, and it wasn't good the first time. Like, it sucked the first time. The best thing about that fight was the press conference when Chael was making Jenna Jameson jokes. That was the best thing about that fight. Like, I really, unless with the exception of Chael getting on the mic and saying some shit, man, you can't sell that fight for anything. Like, really, who wants to see that? And you know what? And Tito Ortiz, I know you ain't watching. I know you, but maybe your manager, somebody watching. You need to watch this, Tito. Tito, you lied to me. Tito Ortiz, the Huntington Beach bad boy, sir, you lied to me. I asked you. You looked me in the eye. And I shook your hand. I said, "Hey, is this it?" And you said, "Yes, I'm done. This is it." And then toward the end of the interview, I said, "I know I just asked you, but I need clarification, brother. Is this it? Are you done?" And he says, "I'm done." You lied to me, Tito. You hurt my feelings, bro. You lied. Don't lie to me, man. I ain't gonna do nothing about it, but don't lie to me.
I think
I ain't gonna do shit about it.
I think it's your own fault that you actually believe something that Tito Ortiz said.
Oh, God, no, I didn't believe. Come on now, I know better than that.
So you shouldn't be mad about it. Shouldn't be mad.
No. I was just saying, you know. I just wanted to point at the camera and do my thing. But Tito, man, Tito and Chael, we don't need this shit. Like now, if you said Tito and Vitor, okay, I'm there for that. I'm there for that. That makes some form of sense to me. But we just saw Tito smash Chael. Like, what has he got to offer now? And it's not like Chael has gone on any fantastic winning streak since. He just lost to Fedor. Just got knocked out by Fedor. Like I'm good. I'm good. But I'll watch. Fuck my life.
You know what? I'm gonna have to disagree with you here. I am gonna buy. I am interested in it. I like the back and forth between the two. I always like Chael's trash talk. Tito talk about he's not going to go for a submission this time around. He's going to not do any submission. He's just going to pummel him like Jay mentioned. I'm interested. The one thing I will say is that after that fight, Chael did beat Vanderlei pretty fairly easy. He did beat Quentin Rampage Jackson fairly easy. The Fedor fight was fun for his last, and in the end, everybody expected him to lose that anyway, barring some craziness. So, in the Tito fight, he did come off of almost a 4-year layoff, which is never good for anybody, especially someone his age. So, I'm kind of curious. Maybe Chael lets us down, and he gets just easily manhandled again. But you know what? I'd be curious, and if he somehow did beat him, how would Tito handle it? What would Chael say afterwards? And we're past the point where these fights are main events for Bellator. They've kind of, now they started to transition away with that, and the top fights are being the top fights again, unless it has some, heavyweight Grand Prix, hook to it. But this won't be a main event. This will probably be a co-main event. As long as it's a co-main event on something better, I have no problem with that. I'll watch it. It'll be fun. I'm curious if Chael can get revenge or not, and I'm cool with it. Total buy.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and just do a complete about face and change
really
my mind. Simply because I want to see Tito Ortiz squeeze another juice box. That's really that.
Maybe he can double fist the juice box.
Yeah. So you gotta up the ante. You gotta squeeze multiple juice boxes now. Maybe actually it should be one that's still filled, and then we squeeze it, then the juice just out.
Like Gallagher, just have a bunch, just start smashing them.
Yeah, but Tito got thirsty before the interview, so he drank the juice. That's probably what happened. I guess so. But this is one thing. Like, as long as this isn't a Golden Boy MMA product, it just don't be Golden Boy.
I mean, if it was Golden Boy, which it can't be because Chael's still on the contract Bellator, and he's a total Bellator shield now. But if Chael was on, he would uplift the shit out of that thing because he can sell not only himself, but with Bellator, he sells other people. So he'd sell the shit. He'd be the best thing that ever happened to Golden Boy, but he's not stupid enough to get on that fucking train wreck.
Well, maybe it'll be worth it just to see Chael call out Oscar at some point at a press conference. True. Maybe. So maybe everything I've said about this topic is just total bullshit because I've changed my mind like 4 times. Tito versus Chael 2, book it. I'm there. Golden Boy MMA 2, let's get it.
Maybe that's the co-promotion we need. Bellator and Golden Boy MMA.
You know what? Why the hell not? Sign me up. Okay, yes. Sign me up and take my dignity while you're at it.
Maybe we get Chuck in there. I mean, maybe we can get Chuck and Rampage 3. Chuck Rampage 3. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's
heavyweight.
Let's not Chuck do anything other. No, I don't want Chuck to be the special guest referee.
Chuck Vanderlei too. Come on.
I want Chuck Liddell to be watching this comfortably from home in a padded room. I don't want he needs to be wearing bubble wrap watching this. I want nothing physical ever to happen involving Chuck Liddell ever again. I want that man to sit and enjoy whatever money he has on the couch, watching the fight, drinking a beer. That's what I want for Chuck Liddell. Okay, yeah. But Tito versus Fedor, yes, please. Yeah. That is the old man fight that I would actually want to see. Or maybe, hey, get a rematch between Vanderlei and Fedor. I'm there for that. In fact, just give me Fedor roided out of his damn mind against anybody that's of a somewhat similar age.
What about Chael versus Fedor? Because Chael would somehow have the nerve to even have been tested positive steroids and still talk about Fedor's
Yes. Bring it. Bring the irony. Bring the hypocrisy. Bring it. I need that hypocrisy in my life. I need that shit. Okay. I want them both to have so much steroids just leaking out of their body that I want the front row to just develop traps up to their ears from sitting there. Okay. I want the sweat that flies off of them when they get punched. I want it to splash on Mike Beltran and his beard starts flexing. That's what I want. I want full on steroid. I want Stanizol MMA. That's what I want. Stanizol MMA. Let's make that the name of the pro. Stanizol MMA. Let's do it.
All right, fair enough.
All right. Yeah, that was that. I don't think we have anything else to cover this.
I think we got one more. We got Super Shotgun.
Oh yes, we do. Yeah, Super Shotgun. Who would you like to see in the UFC Hall of Fame?
I mean, could we put George St. Pierre in there now? I mean, honestly, what the fuck are we waiting for? He could just go in there now. He could be one of those guys that could be in there and fight again. I mean, George should be in there, no doubt about it. You know what's crazy is we have some weird legends, some great fighters that have like tested positive late in their career. Like a Verdum should seem like a guy that might go in there, and Anderson seemed like a guy that should go in there. But you know, their positive tests has hurt those. You know, Uriah Faber's. What about a guy like Miguel Torres? Miguel Torres was very influential for bantamweight in its early stages. That'd be a cool one. Like throw him a bone. Like he was an important kind of guy for that. Who's another interesting one that could be good?
Jens Pulver.
Jens Pulver, yeah, that's another one too.
Frank Shamrock needs to be there.
And kind of like Frank, that's just a fucking absurdity. He's not, but like how WWE brought WCW and they have kind of like WCW legends in there and they come fight. They should kind of do that with some Pride legends, like Gomi. Like Takanori Gomi should be in there. That's a guy that should be in there. Or like
of course, Fedor is the obvious one. Yeah. But I mean, I don't think. I just think if they open it up to Pride, I mean, honestly, maybe they will. Maybe they will just open up to Pride guys as well. Yeah, they bought it, but I bet you it happens after Fedor is absolutely retired. When he is done fighting, period, that's when he'll get inducted into the Hall of Fame because UFC owns the Pride catalog and Strikeforce catalogs. So that will happen at that point. Until then, they can't acknowledge this man as a Hall of Fame mixed martial artist because he's fighting for the competition right now. But then also here's a very interesting thing. That now, correct me if I'm wrong. If you could think of any particular instance where this happened beforehand, but it wasn't. But maybe a couple of months ago on a UFC broadcast that I heard the name Fedor Emelianenko. That they acknowledged him on the broadcast and they had his name up on the screen with some stat or whatever. I can't remember what the stat was, but his name was on the screen and they said Fedor Emelianenko was one of the only other guys to do X, Y, and Z. And I was floored. Like, damn, they mentioned him on the broadcast. I remember one time they mentioned Michael Chandler and I almost fell out my chair. Like, wow, y'all recognize these people are alive.
And the Chandler thing, I think, happened because someone had like a similar issue with like the foot, like Michael Chandler. That's what happened. The Fedor thing, I can see the Fedor thing just being used to elevate. That's probably what it was. Like they took his name to elevate someone else. That's the only way to do it, to let someone else stand on his shoulders to look good. That's the only way they can let that happen.
All right. So we have a bonus question from Yohimbo. He asks, would Chuck Liddell wrapped in bubble wrap be Bubble Man? Yeah, why not? I mean, but his trunks would have to change. Like his trunks couldn't have the icicles; it'd have to be like bubbles on it. But what the hell is an ice bubble though?
Because he's just Ice Man.
But that's just struggling to combine the two, man.
Bubble Man just is doing nothing for me.
But Bubble Man don't do it for me neither, man. And the trunks would just look real corny. The trunks would look real corny.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, can you imagine the Bubble Man Affliction shirt with like skulls and dragons and then a piece of Bubblicious? It's not it, my guy. It's not it, my guy. All right, so we have clearly devolved into pure stupidity. So that's probably a sign that we should stop this shit. And Jason, let the people know what you have coming up on Sherdog.com, What do you have going on? What can we expect from Captain Credential himself, the incredible, the remarkable Jason Burgos?
Well, I mean, speaking of credentials, I've got approved to go to UFC ESPN 1 at the Barclays Center. Me and Anthony have talked about it off the camera. We're still trying to figure out what the hell brown credential means. We don't know yet. Hopefully we'll figure that one out. Hopefully it doesn't mean I'm credentialed in the bathroom. But,
the shit credential?
I hope it doesn't work out like that. Either way, there's that. Of course, as always, Cheap Seas Chat on Instagram and on Twitter. Please give me a follow. I got some stuff coming up with the Henry Corrales. I think I mentioned it last week. He's fighting Arapico. That should be coming out fairly soon on Sherdog.com. Maybe they might hold it off till closer to the event on the 26th. This week, I talked to Ong La and Sang. Like I said, double champ at one championship. He's a light heavyweight champ, middleweight champion. Interesting guy. He's again going to like how big the sport is over there. This guy's from Myanmar. He literally had a parade and ceremony for him last month in Myanmar where he grew up, and they made a statue for him out of bronze. He's got the 2 belts. It was supposed to like 40,000 people there. Like, we don't see like Randy Couture get that kind of stuff. So this is how big one is over there. Also talked to Alan Crowder, who is fighting Greg Hardy in the co-main event of that card, which oddly enough, James Lynch, our own James Lynch, he did a Sherdog video interview with Alan Crowder. So Sherdog will be fully covered with Alan Crowder stuff from all angles when my article comes out. And also talked to Dennis Bermudez, who is returning also on the ESPN card. He's trying to end a 4-fight losing streak. I talked to him about his fight with Tay Edwards. That should be a good one for everybody to see and listen to. I'll have audio for both of those. Going to talk to Derek Brunson on Monday and have a planned, hopefully, video interview that I will be conducting with one and Naaman Gracie this Saturday. Hopefully that'll be on the site relatively soon too. And those are some of the things I'm working on that you should be seeing on Sherdog.com in the next week or so.
Wow, you're a busy man. Wow, that's what I got to say is going to sound like some dog shit, man. All that you got going on. All right. So to distract from that, yes, I'm going to give another shout out to your one who let us know where the Fedor stat came from. It was when DC won the heavyweight belt and they listed unbeaten streaks in UFC Pride and Strikeforce history. Fedor was above Daniel Cormier, 16 wins as opposed to DC's 12. So
wow. At least they didn't like it's one of those things like they didn't put him in and they ignored him, and then somebody else was saying, wait a minute, Fedor did a 16. At least they showed him and they didn't take away from him. I respect that for once. You know
what? Come to think, I think that might have been when he beat Derek Lewis. Actually, that might have been when he beat Derek Lewis.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I remember that being a little more recent, but shout out to Europe One. Thank you for that tidbit of information. So as you see on the bottom of the screen there, I'm Anthony Walker. You can find me on Twitter at Ant Walker MMA. So you can also check out Sherdog.com. I've got 3 of the articles for the year-end awards posted. They're live: submission of the year, robbery of the year, and fight of the year. 3 big categories. I like that I got picked to write those. And also, for the record, all the people angry about some of those picks, we all voted on them. They weren't necessarily my personal picks. So
so you got shit on social media from those?
A little bit. Nothing I care about. I don't give a fuck. I just like fucking with people. I don't care. What you gonna do? You don't like my picks? You ain't trying to knuckle up. You don't want that. But anyway, we'll leave it there. So also ask Ant. See what questions we got left over. I'll see what I can do for that one. I also have another announcement that I'm gonna table for next week. I'm gonna table that for next week. I'm gonna just let this come to fruition just a little bit. But I got something brewing. It's official, but I wanted to be a little more official. Let that brew a little bit. But yeah, man. So got some cool shit coming up. Always go on Sherdog.com, check out our coverage. There is no good, bad, and the ugly, my normal post-fight column this week, because there is no big fight in MMA to cover. I refuse to write anything about Pacquiao Brawner because I ain't paying him $75 to watch that fight.
Hell no.
Hard pass on that. Hard pass on that. So anyway, that's that. For Jason Burgos, I am Anthony Walker. This is Sherdog.com. You're watching The Trenches. Remember, like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Something. Let us know you're out there. Let us know you're alive. Let us know you're feeling this shit. Let us know you're not feeling this shit. Whatever. Just participate. Join the fun. We'll be here next week. Might be altered a little bit next week because I will be – no, not next week. That's the week after. I'm attending Karate Combat on the 24th. So got ahead of myself. On that. But anyway, so next week, tune in to Sherdog.com to watch the next edition of The Trenches. For Jason Burgos, I'm Anthony Walker. You know what to do. Stay positive, stay beautiful, stay incredible, stay smart, stay intelligent, and most of all, stay sexy. I'll see you when I see you. Peace.